It is really lovely to be together tonight and to see familiar faces and how to think over the course of 12 months. Many more faces are now familiar than we were before. It was good to hear Ruth from Buxton. I don't think we've met Ruth, but even today I was asked, can you tell me about the extent of the North West England district? And Buxton gets a reference, as does Alderley Edge and Knutsford, as does the Wirral, because this is our southern border all the way up to Scotland. So one of the joys of these last months has been meeting many more of us, getting to know each other in all sorts of ways. I've got three or four quick, very introductory points. I think the first is to say that we really have covered an awful lot of ground. We've done an awful lot in establishing the new district, but it's been even more challenging and even harder work than probably we had imagined. Just that process of building structures and relationships and working out ways of pulling ourselves together when there's lots of slightly different ways from the previous 5 districts. And therefore we have to check out our assumptions and pull the best stuff together. So it's been a really, really big task in recent months. And I want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank so many who've been so heavily involved in that. Some are certainly, we're working very, very hard, and that's important to say. And then to say positively, I think we can already see some of the benefits of coming together in various ways. The economy of scale that we get from not doing 5 things, in 5 different places, the same thing over and over again. We can see that in certain ways, and we can certainly see already the benefits of coming together to pull best practice together from different parts of our 5 former districts. Best practice, which is improving things and indeed sometimes able to override and remove some of the weaknesses that we had in all of our 5 districts. We've got a long way to go. We're not there, and I'm not over speaking, but already we see some signs of that. But then thirdly, I think I'd want to say, but we've still got a long, long way to go. I want to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge if there's frustration and a sense of we could and should have got further, or you're waiting for something to happen or for a resource to be brought together and you're having to be patient. And I'm genuinely sorry for that. And I don't want to just tell a really positive story that doesn't also ignore that we've got such a long way still to go, both a positive and a recognition we aren't there yet. And I think fourthly and finally, what I'd want to say is it has been so good that so many people have joined in. It's lovely to see the faces on screen tonight and to know that a number of folk are involved and in a number of ways. And it's still the case that if others want to come in on particular things, please do. We really wanted to be permissive when we brought this district together. We really wanted to allow for people who had an enthusiasm, maybe because you've been the person who just asked and you're the person who's done in your context over many years. Maybe you're happy to continue doing. Maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you've never offered. Whatever, please just ask, please just offer. We know that we've already established we want to have a safer recruitment system for doing the EDI and for doing the safe recruitment to make sure we're safe at district level. But subject to working through those processes, it really is an encouragement to come along and be involved in various ways. So I want to acknowledge how much ground we've covered. I want to indicate I do think we've got a number of positives already, but we've still got a long way to go. The proof of the virtue of doing this has still got some way before it's fully revealed. And we're not pretending that we've suddenly arrived. We've got a long way still to go. And fourthly, please keep on being involved or offer to be involved if you're not already being involved. And thank you if you're able to do so. So those were the quick things I wanted to say, as if you like a quick state of the union for where I think we are just over 6 months in, 7 months in. Thanks ever so much, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, James. And I do want to add to what you said in commending all the work that's gone in by so many people. I think we all see and recognise how much work is going in. So thank you to all those people who are putting so much effort in. And as you say, a lot of progress, but some way to go yet. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you, James. We'll come back to you a bit later on. I'm now going to invite Phil Goff as the District Secretary from Ministry and Vocations to speak to us and just give us an update on what's been happening in his area of the district. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Peter. And let me say thank you to James for that really helpful introduction. And wholeheartedly endorse everything that James has just said there about the amount of work and the number of people involved. So within the Ministry and Vocations hub, I want to share some of the work that's been going on in the last 6 months or so. We're populating new committees in the district, and at our district policy committee this last week, we were able to say that the district's EDI and JDS group, Equality, Diversity, Inclusion, Justice, Dignity and Solidarity group, has been set up and has met a couple of times and drafted their terms of reference. And we hope to be hearing more about our EDI, JDS work at Synod, when we've got Synod at the end of April. A massive piece of work over the last few months has been the support of our probationer ministers, as the 5 districts coming together into one district. We've had 8 probationers all together to consider, 2 in their first year and the rest in their second or subsequent years. We've put a brand new probationers committee together. Some of them are in the room tonight, which is great, and a big thanks to all of the committee, and particularly to Nicola Price-Tebbert, our district probationers secretary. There's an awful lot of work involved in compiling, receiving reports and compiling reports and meeting each of the probationers. The great news is that we have probationers, as they come through probation and are successful through probation, become ordinands, preparing for ordination. And we have 5 of our probationers who are recommended by the district for ordination. They are Ruth Dowson, who's in the Wirral Circuit, Hayley Edmondson up in Cumbria, in 2 circuits, Sarah Hooks in the Bolton Circuit, Sincere Makunde in Alderley Edge and Knutsford Circuit, and Deacon, the other 4 mentioned presbyters, and Deacon Judith Laycock over in the United Stockport Circuit. And our 2 first-year probationers, with a presbyter and a deacon probationers, encouraged onto their second year. So details of 4 district testimony services are available, and please look out for those. They're over 3 Sundays in May, the 4th, the 11th and the 18th of May, in different parts of the district. At Marple Methodist Church, at Ulverston Methodist Church, at Hope Farm on the Wirral Circuit, and Harwood Methodist Church. So please pray for our probationers and those who, God willing, are going forward for ordination this summer. We've begun a district online service, an act of worship on a Sunday evening once a month, on the second Sunday of the month at 6:30 in the evening. And the first of those was just a few weeks ago, when Reverend Dave Hardman, the liaison officer in Jerusalem for the Methodist Church, was with us to talk about what life is like right now in Jerusalem, and to bring to our attention the current situation across the Holy Land. We had about 60 screens logged in to that first Zoom online worship for the North West England district, about 80 people worshipping with us, which was a very encouraging start. The next one is on Palm Sunday, the second Sunday in April, and look out for information in the weekly newsletter that goes out, and on through our social media, particularly Facebook. As well as probationers, we're beginning to look at gathering our under 5s, or those who are in their first 5 years of ministry, early years of ministry. It is lovely to see Melanie here this evening in the room. Melanie has been holding that piece of work for the Cumbria mission area, formerly the Cumbria district. Melanie, really looking forward to working with you, with those who are in their early years of ministry. Supporting our lay employees. It's wonderful to see several members of the Learning Network here. And just, was it yesterday? We had an online support retreat day for some of our lay employees, so administrators, children's workers, schools workers, property people, a whole host of people who are pioneers, new places for new people, pioneers. We had an online day with them led by the Learning Network, and there's an on-site, like in-person day next week. So providing a retreat opportunity for lay employees across the district. Many of our ministers, superintendents, probationers have had an opportunity in this springtime to have a retreat, and providing retreats is very, very much appreciated. And there are people in the room again tonight who've helped facilitate those retreats and give people a little bit of space and time. We have a children's and youth work support group in the district that we've set up and begun to meet, and particularly looking at 3Generate, but not only 3Generate, the National Youth and Children's event that happens in the autumn, and how we resource groups to be able to get to 3Generate. We believe we'll have a large number of people from the northwest of England attending 3Generate. And we have the Youth President, B, with us at our district synod at the end of April also. It'd be good to have some time with B. I think I've mentioned the Lent resource that we're running at the moment, which is available through the website or daily postings on Facebook. And that's required up to about 50 different people from across the district contributing daily reflections. We've used the readings from the Methodist Prayer Handbook, the lectionary readings from there, and the theme is the way of Jesus. There's a stunning painting that is the backdrop for our Lent devotion, coming from one of the Methodist churches in Ukraine, and a young artist there who painted a picture of Jesus in wartime. So that's the origin of that image, which is a powerful image for us at the moment. We remember the land that Jesus grew up in, the land that Jesus walked, an occupied territory, and think of war-torn places. Another area that this particular hub tries to attend to is our partnerships, organisations like Methodist Homes for the Aged, All We Can, and Christian Aid. So we've got the Christian Aid Church Engagement Officer for the Northwest, Zoe, is going to be with us at our April Synod. She's also going to be speaking at our online worship in May, which is the Sunday that starts Christian Aid Week. So it will be good to have a strong focus and connection with our partners in Christian Aid this year. I hope that gives you a bit of a flavour of the things that have been happening. As James said, there are several other items on the agenda and other groups that are still being formed, still taking shape. But as I said, I've recognised quite a number of the people who are with us tonight are engaged in several of the things that I've talked about already. So thank you for your encouragement, support and partnership in all that we're seeking to do. Peter, I think that's all I need to say for now. I hope that's been helpful.
Thank you very much, Phil. That was really encouraging to hear about the breadth of work that's happening in your area of the district. Thank you. That's really good. Thank you. We're going to move now to Heather Ferguson, who is our District Secretary for Administration and Compliance. Heather, may I invite you to tell us what you and your team have been up to? Thank you.
Good evening, all. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you about some of the work that we have been doing in the Administration and Compliance Hub. In thinking about this, I took a step back today and I thought, from the 1st September, what exactly have we all been up to in my area? And I think I'd like to start, first of all, to just sort of talking about administration and really thanking our administration team for their efforts. They really do go above and beyond to help us with some of the work, particularly in my hub. We are finding our feet as a new district, and I do think we have sort of spent the last few months in almost a settling period. We have been bringing policies and procedures and people from all the previous districts together to try and find the best ways of working and coordinating some of our work. So committees in the Administration and Compliance Hub, we have a number of committees who are all either in the process of forming or have formed, and we are finding ways of working together, getting to know each other, and also trying to create and build a framework for how the committees will work moving forwards, which will include scheduling key dates in and almost forward planning, if you will. So I'm going to just break down now into a couple of the key areas that I think you may well be interested in hearing about, sort of some of the work that we've been doing. And I'll start off with finance. And some of the key areas of work that the Finance Committee and myself and the Treasurer, in partnership with TCC, who support us with bookkeeping, have been up to. Our current activity revolves around setting the 25-26 district budget, and linked to that is the circuit assessment. So I will just say, when this new district came into being, it was pledged that we would not look to increase costs to circuits wherever possible as a result of this new district forming. And we do keep that in mind all the time. So just to mention that the district budget, we have basically done a roll forward position based on inflation and some other known factors this time around, simply due to timeframes. I think James alluded to the amount of work that's gone in from 1st of September. So clearly that's something that we will change moving forward, but for this time, that's what we have suggested and taken to DPC, and it will go to Synod. Linked to that, we have looked to propose a 1.5% reduction in circuit assessments, and that's a blanket reduction to all circuits. However, if you take into account current inflation, running at about 3.5%, this actually does equate to about 4.5% in real cash terms. So I'm hoping that that is a positive felt by circuits. Clearly, we do need to build an assessment model for the future, which will be worked up by our Finance Committee in the coming months. And that will, of course, be in consultation with circuit treasurers. That will take into account circuit finances and reserves, as well as any individual circumstances. We've always said that we will always take into account individual circumstances and any extenuating, which mean that clearly things need to be different for one or two individuals. But we are working on that, and that is sort of where the finance section is up to. Linked to finance, we have grants. We have a grants committee that has been set up, and they have worked incredibly hard since inception on bringing together the previous district's policies and procedures and ethos, I would say, as well, in terms of how districts have approached grants and grant making. And we opened for business in February. We clearly would have liked to have done that sooner, but the process just took quite some time in making sure that we had a policy that we were happy to share. And clearly that policy will be reviewed as well. This is it's a work in progress. We wanted to start and see how we got on. The policy is broken down into small grants up to 1,500, of which a small grants panel assesses, and larger grants up to 30,000, which the committee assesses at the periodic grant committees, the next of which is on the 3rd of April, and the following one is the 9th of June. So at those committee meetings, we will be reviewing the grant applications that have come in and discussing and sharing any information that has been provided in addition to those applications and making decisions. Some decisions have already been made linked to the small grants because we started receiving those towards the end of Feb, and our policy is to try and turn around within about 14 days. So we have been working very hard on that. And I think at the committee meeting in April, we will have a taking stock exercise. We'll have a look at how we've got on this first sort of round, as I call it, and seeing if we need to make any sort of changes anywhere to make the policy work smoother. But I will, again, I'm thanking people a lot tonight, and the grants committee have worked very, very hard, as have the finance committee, to try and get us into a position where we are positively working to support churches and circuits in our district. Lay employment. Clearly, we have in-house staff. We have district staff who I am responsible for in terms of policies, procedures. We have done some work to standardise our approach with things like expenses, annual leave, etc. I'm personally holding one-to-ones with all the lay employees in my hub and encouraging others to do the same. And what we do want to do, we want our staff to feel valued And as part of that, we held a staff day in December where we brought together everybody just to take stock again and see how everybody's getting on, where can we make improvements, what needs to change, what needs to carry on. And we'll be having another one of those. The aim is to hold those twice a year. But of course, lay employment also includes all our wider churches and circuits, and we are working very hard to support those on HR matters as and when they come in. We have recently bolstered our lay employment support committee, and we are again looking to develop provision in this area in terms of setting out some clear timeframes and how and when support that's requested will be addressed. But at the moment, I think we're just about keeping on top of that. This is a very busy area, is lay employment. And I'm certainly really enjoying getting to know some of our churches and circuits through this work and helping to support them wherever I can to make sure that they're following correct policies and procedures and are protected in terms of how they're approaching HR in their areas. Property. So this is an area that we do need to continue to work on. We have started to develop a property framework and committee. This does require another meeting over the coming months to take that forward. What I am pleased to say is we have an excellent consents panel that has been established and are working very well together. We have some very, very good conversations and discussions when we do meet as a group to go over any particular consents that have come up and that need responding to. We've also developed a district cease to worship form, which has been shared and will be shared further as part of our website work as well, so it'll be easily accessible to people. And of course, we have some district man's work which we are undertaking, purchases and sales. And should anybody be interested in taking on a particular role, I know James has said if anybody would like to offer and to get further involved, we are seeking some district man's stewards, and I will be very happy to speak to people if they want to have a conversation about that. Safeguarding, this is obviously a very, very crucial area that's in my hub, and I'm very pleased to see that Helen's on the call this evening. So we have a district safeguarding group of which we now have an independent chair who has been appointed and will be supporting myself and James in this area of work. Practically, we have 4 DSOs who work as a team whilst focusing on their individual mission areas, and they are continuing to support churches and circuits with safeguarding issues, concerns, queries, and providing training. They are actually in the middle of developing some new training in respect of some new mandatory reporting duties regarding child sexual abuse. So look out for further information around that as it becomes available. And I just want to also say, in case you don't know, they are organising the district safeguarding webinar. That will be taking place on the 17th of May. I do have a poster that we can share at the end if anybody would like to see a copy of that if they haven't already. The key theme for this year is supporting those experiencing mental ill health or dementia, as well as, of course, some general updates as well from district. But that will be an interesting morning if people would like to book on to attend that one. And just briefly, some other areas. GDPR, data protection. We had the first meeting of the GDPR committee a couple of weeks ago, and the key focus of that group this time around was talking about the data protection annual checklist, which I know went out from TMCP and did cause a flurry of enquiries, certainly into my desk. We have sent a letter out to via supers and also circuit administrators with regards to the annual checklist. The deadline is the end of May, and we have set up a specific district email account for people to be able to send any requests for support or if they have any queries, and our committee will respond to those. Archives, this is another area of work that we do need to focus on. Now we've got some of the other key areas up and running. The most recent Methodist Archivist Handbook has been shared, and we plan to work with our district archivist, John Purcell, to review this and create an action plan on the back of that. And finally, now this is strictly speaking in James's area, and he may well talk to you a little bit more about this, but I did just want to say that we've, in the communications field, we've recently had a new appointment which will bolster our communications team, and Sam will introduce himself a little bit later. But the work of that area is developing a comms strategy at the moment, and sort of what we call the offer that will be available to churches and circuits from the team. And you will all, I am sure, be aware that we produce the district newsletter. And of course, we have the district website, work on which is undergoing at the moment in order to make that website as user-friendly and efficient as possible. Final thing I'd just like to touch on in relation to property as well, I just forgot to mention it, is that we are currently undertaking some recruitment for the additional district property secretary. And the closing date for that is imminent, so we will look to identify whether there's any suitable candidates from this round of recruitment. And I think that's it for now.
Heather, thank you. That was a very comprehensive report of all the activities happening in your hub. Thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to James Tebbert, who's, in addition to being the district chair, is the Mission and Leadership Hub lead. That's quite a mouthful, James. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I try not to practice it too often, but thank you, Peter. Thanks also. Just picking up Heather's reference to communications. Partly that's because it sits in the two hubs. So much of the operations is through the administration and compliance hub. The reason why we've got a little bit of mission leadership is because communications is just so important to join things together, to get over a message, sometimes to be able to promote good stories, sometimes occasionally to react to more difficult stuff. So it's a bit in both, but I was delighted, Heather, you covered it because I hadn't been proposing to do so tonight. Thank you. Mission and leadership. Let me cover mission first, if I may. And obviously we'll all recall that one of the reasons why, the primary reason for coming together as 5 districts into one, was in the end for mission. That's partly a negative indirect thing, is how can we do the necessary business of being a church and being safe and looking after our resources well and properly in as an efficient a way as possible. But therefore, how can we maximise release as much space, time, energy as possible to encourage mission, and not least to encourage those at the local, on the local level, in local churches and in circuits. Again, the district doesn't exist for its own sake. It's here to take a regional view, but try to support local mission as best as we can. That's why we've come together. So that's really important, and lots of indirect things feed into that. But in particular, obviously, we need a mission strategy, and we need to be good stewards of the resources that we've been given, and to develop good programs of mission in all sorts of ways. So this is one of those activities, those strands that we've begun, but we've got a long way to go. We had a really good mission planning gathering day in the autumn, when about 50 people were able to attend when we met in Manchester, bringing various interested parties together, simply to get people to meet each other, to know one another. Immediately pays a dividend, because you're getting people from their particular experience and practice sharing with others, and that's one of the benefits, the virtues of us all coming together. We began to reflect a little bit on what did we want to take and keep from the previous 5 district mission plans, and begin to bring them into a new district mission plan. One of the other things we did that day was to begin to look at what our structure for being able to run efficiently might be. The structure doesn't get us anywhere apart from actually trying to be a means to an end to facilitate how we might work effectively together. And out of that, we identified it was really important that we had an overall mission coordinating group, which happened to meet, because this shows how long it sometimes takes to get people in diaries to be able to line up. And even then, we couldn't have some key players meeting. Actually met this morning for the first time, and that was it. We were able to take various things forward. So we'll be working on a mission plan for the new district, which will go through a couple more steps yet, and we will be offering it at the autumn synod for general approval. We began to think about how we can best coordinate our existing new places for new people, activities and endeavours, and how we can develop some more where we haven't got them so fully developed in parts of our district. We began to think about how we can bring in and interweave some greater resources that are coming to us from the connection, as well as beginning to notice the various strands of mission, individual projects and other things like that, that we'll need to support and encourage and to some degree oversee in the months ahead. So there's an awful lot of work still to go, but that has come together. I think a little while ago we revealed the mission structure, and we can reveal that from time to time again. Again, it's a means to an end. It's not the end in itself. So mission is the big thing, but there's lots of strands to that mission, and we've begun to have some groups meeting to help with that. So, for example, the Eco Group has met once, the Global Relations Group has met once, and public issues, we've had a bit of a conversation, but we want to pull a bit of a bigger network of people together in that. In all these cases, it's wonderful to have enthusiasts come together and to work about how we can promote these issues, these strands in various parts of the district. For example, when it comes to global relations, Bolton Rochdale had a partnership link. Cumbria had one. Lancashire actually had 3. The other 2 districts didn't have so much. And what we want to do is pull things together to promote them, to make you aware, make others aware, to see whether there are issues that you want to come in and support and engage with, whether we're talking about global relations or any of the other matters that fall within this hub, or indeed any of the other hubs again. So a number of strands have begun to meet, or we've begun to pull together in various ways. Then just finally, on the mission area, I wanted to pull together stationing, because the importance of getting appropriate ministry in the right places is absolutely vital and central to much of what we wish to do. And thus we've had a stationing group which has been comprised of the 5 previously stationing reps from the previous 5 districts. It also involves the 5 mission area leads, and we meet periodically. And then myself and the relevant LSR and the relevant MAL mission area lead have met in various ways with ministers in stationing, with circuits in stationing, in order to go through the present stationing round. It feels much more like painting the 4th bridge in this new district, because there's so many appointments, and thus we're still in the process, even if we've been through the main matching rounds. We're now in the stationing action group rounds in various ways. In the end, we sought 22 appointments for the new district. That was 3 diaconal appointments and 19 presbyteral appointments. The present tally at the moment is we have 17 out of 22 filled. That's 77.272727 recurring %. I would like it to be higher than that, but that's a lot better than it was at one point, and speaks to the fact that we don't have enough ordained ministry in the connection as a whole to meet all our aspirations. We managed 2 out of the 3 diaconal appointments, and otherwise we've still got 4 presbyteral appointments we want to meet. But the 8 superintendencies we were able to fulfil. Very grateful for everybody who's helped with all of that. And again, it's been an area in which we've had to work harder, because we've had slightly different ways of doing things, slightly different cultures have applied, but we've learned a lot from that, and again have been able to pull best practice together, so that next year hopefully will run more smoothly with good practice everywhere. There are going to be 4 stationing briefings, 3 physical, 1 between on the Cumbria-Lancashire border, 1 on the Lancashire-Liverpool border, 1 in Manchester, and then 1 online. And the details of those will, I hope, be published in next week's district briefing. They'll all be taking place early and in mid-May. That was on the mission side, but I've already, through stationing, began to move over into the leadership side. I want to pay tribute to the 5 mission area leads. Greater Manchester Plus has 2 for the work that they do, which is absolutely vital. Pulling together various things, supporting, liaising with circuits, pulling smaller groups of supernumeraries, for example, together, running induction programs in various ways. We work as a big team, but their role has been vital. We work as a big team, which means that the 3 hub leads and the 5 mission area leads, we meet fortnightly at present. We meet for about 2 hours, and we share the leadership of that. We try to be as collaborative as we possibly can. I'm spreading out from my hub now, but it's important that you have an understanding of how we're making the whole thing work in the district. The District Policy Committee, the district trustees, have met 4 times this year and will be meeting once more in this connectional year. We've done a lot of work. We're well supported by Jill Orrell as our secretary, and very well supported by the scrutiny group, chaired by Sarah Parkin. And there'll be a spotlight on her, I think, in the next edition of the weekly news or coming up. The scrutiny group are able to look at some of the applications, work through them, troubleshoot if they're not quite ready, and make recommendations for the DPC, so that DPC covers the important decisions we need to make, but doesn't get too bogged down in detail, but can keep its eye on mission going forwards. So that's really important. We've had 3 or 4 superintendents meetings now. There are 42 circuits. although that will be reducing with further amalgamations, and listening to the superintendents about what's really important for them as to how we can release burdens and concentrate resources and prioritise what we need to do. That's a really important part of the district leadership. And of course, there are the synods. We rarely mention the Presbyteral Synod. We met last week. There are just under 350 ministers in the district. Many, of course, are supernumerary or retired. And we met in 2 different venues and were able to join it all together by video link. Just over 90 met in Walkton Methodist Church, just over 70 met in the Loon Valley Hub in Brookhouse at the top end of Lancashire, and about another 20-25 were able to join online. That was successful and effective, and we listened to the stories of those who were early in ministry or who were seeking to sit down, or to whom we paid tribute because we heard the presentation of their obituaries, those who died recently. We're looking forward to the representative synod. We have a synod arrangements group that meets regularly, and again we're trying to do our best to have efficient synods. I know a number were inspired by the last one. We hope that's so again. I hope that gives us a reasonable account of the activities both of the Mission and Leadership Hub, but also some of the wider leadership and structures that have emerged and are taking place in the district as a whole. Thank you, Peter.
James, thank you very much indeed. That was